begins in the quiet hours. Libby, her fur not quite as bright, rests a heavy paw on the swell of her belly. A small discomfort, deep and humming, has taken root. She closes her eyes, not in sleep, but in patient endurance. From the dappled light comes Rambo, her daughter. She sees the subtle tension in her mother's frame, the way her breath catches. Understanding needs no words here. Rambo gently settles beside Libby. She begins to groom her mother's fur with slow, deliberate strokes, starting at the crown of her head. Small, careful hands move through her mother's fur, not just grooming, but mapping, a touch to soothe, to smooth away the worry. Each stroke says, "I am here. You are not alone in this weight." Then Lynn arrived, not with grand words, but with a simple, undeniable truth of presence. He ran to her, a small, determined blur of empathy, and wrapped him in a hug. It was an offer. My peace for your pain. As Rambo felt that kindness settle around him, something in his own spirit remembered. He did not just receive the hug, he returned it. He held Lynn, not with the desperation of need, but with the warmth of understanding. He provided comfort back. It was a mirror, a circle. In that gentle embrace, he was not just the child anymore. For a breath, he held her as his mother might hold him, a shelter within a shelter. And Libby? She had already moved into the dappled light of the trees, a solitary figure. But behind her, she left a silent, powerful teaching. Sometimes the deepest comfort does not come from above, but from beside you, and in giving it, you learn how it's done. They stood like that, Lynn and Rambo, two young ones, holding each other whole. From a distance, in the softening light, they did not look like two separate beings. They looked like a single, gentle promise. And so they held the space. Lynn, a patient statue of solace, with Rambo curled into her small frame. She did not fidget. She became the anchor, her tiny hands patting his back in a rhythm as old as the heartbeat. Minutes passed, measured not by the sun's crawl, but by the gradual slowing of Rambo's breath. His distress, once a storm, had quieted to a distant rumble, then to silence. But see, a young heart's attention is a shallow, sparkling stream. It cannot run deep forever. The urgent work of comfort was done. The stillness that followed was different, not peaceful, but empty. First, her patting hand stilled, then her gaze, which had been fixed on the top of his head with fierce concentration, drifted. It wandered to a butterfly fluttering at the edge of the clearing, to a fat, juicy berry dangling just out of reach. She shifted her weight. A small, almost imperceptible sigh escaped her. The sacred duty of holding had gently evaporated. replaced by the simple, itchy reality of sitting still. It was not a failure of heart, but the truth of her nature. Her compassion was perfect and complete, and like a flower that blooms brilliantly but briefly, it had reached its natural end. The need had passed, and with it her purpose in that particular embrace. She gave him one final solid squeeze, a punctuation mark before her arms loosened, her body already turning toward the next wonder, the next moment waiting to be lived. Rambo and Lynx sit on the same patch of sun-warmed ground, perhaps under the same tree, but a chasm of intent lies between them. Rambo holds the bowl, a simple, earthy vessel, in the protective curve of his arm, tilted toward his body like a gambler shielding his cards. His posture is relaxed yet closed. His knees might be drawn up, forming a gentle barrier. He eats with a deliberate, almost meditative slowness that feels like a performance. Each movement is amplified by Lynx's watchful silence, the rustle as his fingers delve into the bowl, the distinct click of a shell being breached by his teeth, the soft crunch of the kernel. He does not look at Lynx. His gaze is fixed on the middle distance, on a leaf trembling in the breeze, as if he is simply savoring nature's ambience alongside his snack. But the tension is in what he ignores, the presence beside him, the hopeful glance, the unasked question. Lynx, meanwhile, is a portrait of expectant stillness. He may be pretending to be occupied with a stick or a stone, but his attention is laser-focused on the rhythmic, maddening sound of Rambo's enjoyment. Every click is a tiny punctuation mark in a sentence Lynx cannot read. He might shift slightly, clear his throat, or let out a quiet sigh, small signals that hang in the air, unanswered. The cruelty isn't active or taunting, it's passive and absolute. Rambo isn't saying, "You can't have any." He is creating a reality where the concept of sharing simply does not exist. The seeds, the bowl, the act of eating, they form a closed circuit that begins and ends with him. He offers not a word of explanation or a glance of acknowledgement. His silence is the lock on the bowl. It's a masterclass in subtle exclusion. They are together, yet Rambo is utterly alone with his pleasure, while Lynx is alone with his want. The shared ground beneath them only highlights the divide. One person satiating a physical hunger, the other nursing a small, sharp lesson in lack.